you?
I'm good. How are you?
Yeah, doing very well, thank you.
So, would you mind telling us about Practise?
Sure, so Practise is a practical firm of accountants for the creative industries. I worked in the creative industries for kind of 10 years prior to setting up Practise in kind of sort of a range of roles, and kind of perceived a need for creatives, artists, designers, makers to kind of have improved access to admin, to kind of finance, but the accountants out there at the moment weren't catering to that, weren't kind of expressing a kind of a genuine interest in the work that people were doing, maybe.
Funny that.
But also, like, accountants are in a position of like have the ability to really help more than they do, beyond just accounting, but to talk about managing risk, managing kind of your aspirations for your practice, for life, more than just, it should go beyond just your tax return. And so that's kind of what we do. We go way beyond all of that to talk holistically about you and your practice and your business in the widest sense.
Amazing. So I think that's a really good place to start off, because I wouldn't know where to start. If I was just finishing university, I think finance and management and admin is not something that would even remotely cross my mind. So, and that's not to say that, you don't have a place. It's just that we're so invested in our practice, like the making aspect of it, that anything that has to do with admin or finance, it's just like, why would I want to think about that ever? What's the importance of that? So, if you don't mind actually just boiling it down into one nugget of wisdom, what do you think we should know?
So I think, first of all, I really agree with you that actually kind of financial literacy is something that isn't brilliantly kind of taught through various education systems. And it can be such a vast impact topic, and the industry hasn't really positioned itself. The industry kind of benefits from sort of constructing those sort of barriers. It's kind of like, it benefits from talking its own language.
Yeah.
So I think, whether you're starting kind of a business or whether you're kind of running, developing your own creative practice, there are technical things that you need to know. But I think the most important thing is like knowing how to find the right accountant, maybe to find the right help, I would say.
Yeah.
And an accountant kind of can form part of that support network that you have. And I think it's about finding the right way to talk to your accountant, finding the right person. There are some technical concepts that you need to get your head around, so finding somebody who communicates in a way that lands with you is crucial.
So how would I speak to you? If I know nothing, I have my degree, so do I need an accountant?
I guess it depends what you're doing. I think if you are kind of working on your own creative practice as an artist, you're outside of the structure of an employer and a payroll, and you're kind of going it alone. I think you'd really benefit from small amounts of advice at the right times to make sure you do the right things at the right times, and you don't end up kind of running into difficulty further down the line. And I think the way that you do that part of it is an investment of time. I think too many people kind of begin and end their search for an accountant on Google.
Well, where else would you look for it? Do you know what I mean? It's like, I wouldn't know where to look. Well, I know that I can look for you now, but prior to that, I would be like, artist, accountant. What would I look for?
Google's good. Google works, but maybe kind of scroll past page 1 and try some different things. and also like talk to a range of friends. There are people who there are specialists like who work in the creative industries. I think the important thing is to talk to a range of people and have a conversation with kind of 3 or 4 people. Tell them not just about the kind of finances and your kind of financial worries, but tell them about like what it is you do. Tell them about your creative practice. Tell them about your relationships, kind of your business relationships and your practical relationships. And a good accountant will be interested in that. The right kind of accountant will have an opinion on it. And I think, like anything, you should kind of come away from those conversations with a warmer feeling in your stomach.
Yeah, not like deer in the headlights of, oh my God, pure panic, which is how I feel most of the time.
Yeah, exactly. And, quite often we'll have conversations with people, new clients, and they will feel like the whole world is kind of spinning out of control. And we'll sit down and talk to them and look at their finances. And actually, it takes no more than kind of 15 minutes, half an hour to order things. And they kind of feel like the weight of the world has been lifted off their shoulders. So the right person will be able to do that, and they'll be able to do it in not much time, in
15 minutes. That's amazing.
Maybe 15-20 minutes, but like it should feel comprehensible. It should feel like somebody is is solving your problems, not wrapping things up in complicated language. And I think one of the messages that I find quite frustrating in the kind of branding of lots of accounting firms is that they kind of say, oh, we'll take care of the boring stuff while you do whether it's like where you work on your practice, whether you work on or enjoy life or whatever. And in actual fact, I think that messaging can be quite unhelpful because it assumes that
the responsibility is someone else's, and you don't need to necessarily look at it holistically, which
exactly.
I think it's like that's really nice because you're looking at it from a very holistic point of view, that it's an entire ecosystem, but it's not only an ecosystem of how you fit in a larger system, but it's like your own system, and how do you actually start building that? I think that's really good.
I think that's right. And it also assumes that there are 2 ways of thinking. There's a creative way of thinking and there's a practical thinking. And, I think the best things happen when both the kind of practical and creative parts of your brain are firing at the same time. And that's something that kind of we work with people who are kind of, who are invested in the process of understanding the right amount about the right things. You don't need to know everything, but you need enough to be able to drive your practice and to drive relationship with your kind of accountant.
Yeah.
And it's a really powerful thing. That sense of feeling that you can go to sleep at night knowing that you have you have enough cash to be able to
you can pay the bills and put food in your stomach, which is like the number one thing that isn't really considered when you are starting your business and you're doing your own thing.
I think that's right. It can drive so much anxiety for a relatively small amount of time.
Yes, because according to what you said, in 15 to 20 minutes, I can feel assured based on what it is that you can do.
Maybe I should have that on my website.
Yes, I think so. But thank you so much for your time.
It's a pleasure.
And if you want to go and find more information about Nick, it'll be in the description box below.